On the morning of October 1st, 1960, a new flag rose over Africa, not with a gunshot, but with a handshake.
Our great day has arrived.
I remember my mother crying, not with sadness, but with joy she could not name. The birth of a giant, how Nigeria won its freedom. Before the flag of empire, there were flags of kings and queens. The north bowed to the sultan, the west to the Uni, the east to the Obi. Colonialism did not create Nigerian politics. It interrupted a thriving system.
The northern and southern provinces are now one administrative unit. It is an experiment.
An experiment without consent. 300 ethnic groups, two separate colonial histories, forced into a single cage called Nigeria. Herbert Macaulay, the first man to call himself a Nigerian nationalist. He used the press as his weapon. Funmilayo Ransom Kuti, she led the Abeokuta Women's Revolt of 1946, 10,000 women who sat, sang, and shut down the colonial tax system. In Calabar, she organized market women into political cells, proving that independence was not just a man's conversation. Over 100,000 Nigerians served the crown. They returned home asking, if we can fight for democracy in Europe, why can we not vote for it in Lagos? Colonialism survived on cheap labor. When the labor stopped, London began to listen. Nnamdi Azikiwe wrote that, "It is better to die on our feet than to live on our knees." That pamphlet was banned. We memorized it anyway. The British offered a constitution that kept power in their own hands. Nigerians called it a fraudulent paper. For the first time, Nigerians were allowed to elect representatives to regional assemblies, but the real power remained in London.
One Nigeria centralized and strong.
A federal Nigeria where no region dominates another.
I am not a Nigerian nationalist. I am a Northerner, and the North must not be ruled by the South.
These three men agreed on independence. They never agreed on what Nigeria should look like after. The breakthrough. Nigeria became a true federation. 3 regions, each with its own government, its own premier, its own path. This was the British gift, but also the British trap. They divided us just before handing us the keys.
That this House accepts as its primary objective the attainment of self-government for Nigeria in 1956.
The North is not ready. We will not be rushed.
The motion failed, but the seed was planted. In a rain-soaked London under chandeliers that had watched over empires, Nigerians argued for hours about election dates, fiscal formulas, and the name of a national airline.
What the British call gradual development is merely delayed justice.
No party won a majority. The NPC took the North, the NCNC the East, the Action Group the West. A hung parliament, a compromise government. Balewa was a Northerner but a moderate, trusted by the South. He would lead Nigeria to independence, and tragically to its first coup. By 1960, the British knew the tide of history was against empire. Macmillan's Wind of Change speech in Cape Town echoed in Lagos. Independence would be granted on October 1st. It is a proud privilege to hand over the instruments of independence.
We are today the largest independent black nation in the world.
Nigeria, we hail thee. It was not a gift. It was a handover after a long struggle. The British did not leave because they were kind. They left because we made it impossible for them to stay. We planned for Nigerian independence from 1945. It was always going to happen. The truth lies in between. Nigeria pushed, the British pulled. And on October 1st, they let go. 3 years later, Nigeria cut the last thread. Queen Elizabeth was no longer head of state. Nnamdi Azikiwe became the first president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. But the fault lines of 1914 and the compromises of 1959 had not vanished. The regions distrusted each other. The army was restless. Independence had given Nigeria a flag, but not yet a nation. The independence generation, Balewa, Azikiwe, Awolowo, Bello, they are all gone. The Nigeria they dreamed of has not yet fully arrived. Independence was a beginning, not an ending. We are still writing that story. Let us bind the nation's wound and heal the breaches of the past. We have to remember what our forefathers fought for. It's our time to make Nigeria the country of our dreams. The struggle continues. But it is no longer against oppressors beyond our shores. It is now against the shadows we cast within. The dawn of a new day in Nigeria, full of potential and challenges. We have the key to our future. This is the story of Nigeria. The pen is now in our hands.